Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling some really fundamental concepts about the very structure of reality itself, drawing from the incredible depth of the source material you've shared with us from the Urantia book.
It really is foundational stuff, a journey into the architecture of the cosmos. And if you've been with us, you'll remember we recently looked at triunities, those incredibly stable, integrated divine groupings.
Yeah, and that's a perfect jumping off point because today we're going to try and unpack triodities. They sound similar maybe, but apparently they function quite differently.
They really do, and they reveal something pretty profound about everything that exists, like right now, and also everything that could exist down the line.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to really get our heads around that distinction. How are triadities different, and what do they tell us about cosmic scale and order? Let's dive in.
Let's do it. So just to recap quickly, triunities, remember, they're described as these permanent integrated corporations almost of three divine beings.
Right, like the Paradise Trinity, Father, Son, Spirit acting as one.
Exactly. They function only as that integrated group once they're formed. The sources mention 7 we know about, 15 total. And usually, the Father's personal presence is key.
Okay, permanent, integrated, Father involved, function as one. Got it.
So how do triodities break that mold? What makes them different?
Well, they're quite distinct. They're framed more as associations of three beings or absolutes. They can be permanent, but they seem formed for specific purposes.
Associations. Okay.
And the key thing, the really striking difference for the two revealed triodities, is the absence of God, the Paradise Father, as a personal component in their makeup.
Wait, the Father isn't directly part of the mix in the ones we know about? That feels, well, unexpected.
It is. It's highlighted specifically. The sources use this phrase, dual triodity non-father relationships. So it's not just being a group of three, it's that the Father isn't personally there in the revealed setup.
And another thing, unlike triunities, where the members only function as that integrated unit, the entities in a triodity association can function both within that group and outside of it, individually, so to speak.
Ah, okay, that's a really important difference then. So triunities are these fixed unified teams, often with the Father. Triodities are more like special purpose associations, maybe, where the Father isn't a direct member in the examples we have, and the members keep some independence.
That's a good way to put it.
So let's look at the first one revealed, the triodity of.
The triodity of actuality. This one represents, well, the sum total of everything that is actualized, existent, and dynamically happening right now throughout the whole universe,
Yeah.
Paradise, the super universes, even outer space. It's the what is.
The bedrock of existence as we experience it, basically. What makes up this triodity of actuality? Who are the members of this association?
It's composed of 3 fundamental components. The eternal Son, who's also called the infinite Son,
Okay.
Paradise Isle.
The central place?
Right. And the conjoined actor, also known as the infinite spirit.
Son, Paradise, Spirit. And again, just to be clear, no personal aspect of the Father listed here.
Explicitly not listed as a component in this specific combination, correct?
So how do these three, Son, Paradise, conjoint actor, come together to represent all of actual reality? What does each bring to the table? Like what kind of energy or reality aspect?
They embody the 3 fundamental actualized realities: spirit, cosmic, and mind.
Okay.
The eternal Son represents and is the source of spirit energy. The sources call him the absolute of spirit reality, the absolute personality. He is the spiritual universe, in a sense.
Then Paradise Isle, that's the cosmic part.
Exactly. Paradise Isle represents and is the source of cosmic energy. It's the absolute cosmic reality, the absolute pattern for all physical things, the physical universe anchor.
Which leaves the conjoint actor for mind.
Precisely. The conjoint actor represents and is the source of mind energy. He's described as the absolute of mind reality, the coordinate of spirit reality, and the synthesis of personality and power. He bridges spirit and cosmic, essentially, the mind universe.
The sources are quite specific about those roles, aren't they?
Incredibly specific, they state. The eternal Son is the absolute of spirit reality, the absolute personality. The Paradise Isle is the absolute of cosmic reality, the absolute pattern. The conjoined actor is the absolute of mind reality, the coordinate of absolute spirit reality, and the existential deity synthesis of personality and power. It really maps it out.
So these three, operating as the triodity of actuality, coordinate everything that is spirit, cosmic, or physical, and mind. Does that mean this triodity covers absolutely all of actualized reality, no exceptions?
According to the sources, yes. It's described as unqualified in its domain. Nothing else, no other deity relationships, add to or take away from this totality of what's actual, is presented as the fundamental framework for all existing experience.
Wow. Okay, so if that's actuality, the what is, what about the second triad?
The second one is the triadity of potentiality. So if actuality is the present, everything existing, potentiality is about what's latent. It's the vast reservoir of possibilities just waiting for future realization. It's the what could be.
The cosmic potential. And
Mhm.
who or what makes up this triodity?
This one is composed of the three absolutes we've touched on before. The deity absolute, representing latent spiritual energy, kind of like God's will in potential form.
Okay.
The universal absolute, representing latent mind energy.
Right.
And the unqualified absolute, representing latent cosmic energy.
So latent really means these embodied potentials that haven't happened yet. They're not active, but they hold the blueprint, the power for what could be created.
Exactly that. The vast undeveloped possibilities just sitting there, inherent in ultimate reality.
Okay, so we've got actuality, what is defined by spirit, cosmic, mind, coordinated by the sun, paradise, and the actor. And then potentiality, what could be held within these three latent absolutes. How do they relate? Are they separate tracks, or is there like a connection?
Oh, they're deeply, profoundly connected, inextricably intertwined, the sources say. So close. Apparently, you almost can't talk about one without the other. You definitely can't separate them functionally.
What's that fundamental link? How does the could be actually become the what is?
Well, the basic dynamic is that actual reality emerges from the realm of potentiality. Nothing can become actual, nothing can exist if it didn't first exist as a potential.
Ah, so potentiality isn't just passive. It's the source, the raw material, the blueprint.
The power source, exactly. And actuality is what gets built, what gets manifested from that potential.
Okay, I think I'm getting that. So potential is kind of the fertile ground, and actuality is what grows out of it.
That's a great way to think about it. And this dynamic interplay, this back and forth between potentiality and actuality, is absolutely fundamental to how the cosmos evolves and manifests new things. Without it, reality would just be static, fixed. Nothing would grow or change.
Right, that makes sense. It's the engine of creation, in a
I
way.
could say that, yeah.
This seems really crucial for understanding the universe in these sources. You stress that getting the triodity of actuality is paramount. Why is that one so key for grasping reality's nature, especially when we think about different dimensions or levels of existence?
Because, like we said, that Triadity Sun, Paradise Isle, conjoined actor working together in this association, it provides the entire framework for all actualized reality,
Hmm.
spirit, cosmic, and mind. Everything that is genuinely real and actual in the universe is contained within and expressed through those three fundamental aspects and how they interact.
Okay, now this is where it bumps up against some common modern ideas, right? Like parallel universes, multiverses existing totally separately. Does this framework speak to that?
It really does. It directly addresses those kinds of speculations.
Mm-hmm.
According to these sources, any reality you might conjecture that exists outside of these three foundational actualized components, spirit, cosmic, and mind, as unified in the triadity of actuality, well, it's just not part of actualized existence.
So no separate reality bubbles.
The teaching here is that all actualized reality operates within this one comprehensive integrated system. So claims about, dimensional universes stacked up totally separate with different rules,
Yeah.
that contradicts the picture painted here. It's all part of one vast integrated whole.
So if you can't just make up a reality outside the spirit cosmic mind framework, do the sources give any examples of what happens if something or someone tries?
Yes, actually, the rebellion of Lucifer and Satan, their attempt to set up an autonomous system, their own domain called Satania, outside the established administration of the superuniverses. That's presented as a prime example.
So they were trying to break away from this unified fabric.
In essence, yeah, they were trying to create a segment of reality that operated independently of the triodity of actuality
Yeah.
and its overarching structure.
And the fact that they failed kind of proves the point.
Exactly. Their ultimate failure is used to underscore the indivisible nature of true reality, as described here. You can't just sort of carve out a piece of the cosmos and make it run on totally different independent principles from the core actualities.
That really clarifies things. So if separate multiverses aren't the model here, what are the genuine levels or maybe dimensions of reality described in these teachings?
The authentic levels are described more as varying states or expressions within this single integrated cosmic reality they mentioned. Finite, which is like our current creature existence.
Okay.
Then there's midway or Urantia, which is a transitional phase.
After death, right.
Right. Then spiritual, referring to spirit realities.
Yeah.
Absonite, which is a level transcending the finite, but not yet absolute. And finally, the absolute level itself, the ultimate.
But the key is, these aren't separate universes stacked up.
Correct. They're presented as varying states of being and existence within the one unified reality structure, not separate, disconnected cosmic bubbles. No authentic dimensions existing outside the single framework of spirit, mind, and cosmic reality.
That distinction is huge. It keeps everything anchored in one vast, interconnected system. Okay, so within that single reality, spirit, mind, cosmic, where does the physical part fit in? You mentioned the sources make a surprising point about this.
They really do. It's a teaching that sometimes gets overlooked, I think.
Yeah.
But the sources state pretty clearly that all beings, no matter their evolutionary status, finite, Urantia, spiritual, absonite, absolute, they all inhabit physical spheres.
Wait, hang on. All beings, even purely spiritual beings, they live on something physical.
That's the teaching. It extends all the way up to paradise itself.
Paradise, the home of the deities, is described as physical. That just sounds counterintuitive.
It is surprising, isn't it? But yeah, paradise is depicted as a physical sphere, a perfect, divine, ultimate physical sphere, but physical nonetheless.
Wow, okay. And what about that Urantia life on the mansion worlds? We talk about spiritual progression there, but are those places physical too?
Yes, according to the sources. Urantia life happens on physical planets, the mansion worlds, the other Urantia spheres. They even note these worlds would look like physical planets through a telescope.
But presumably not quite like Earth.
No, definitely different. They don't rely on suns for heat and light, for one thing.
Yeah.
And the way beings function is different, like breathing 3 atmospheric components instead of the 2 gases we use. So they're physical, but it's an advanced sort of transitional kind of physical reality.
Fascinating. And bringing it right back to the center, what about the paradise deities themselves? The Father, Son, Spirit, do they have a physical location?
They do. Even they have their primary physical location at paradise. Now, their spiritual presence is immense everywhere, right? Throughout the superuniverses and beyond. But their personal center point is paradise.
And this seems really connected to why the Father sending thought adjusters is such a big deal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The Father bestows these fragments of himself, these adjusters, to live within mortal minds. It allows this incredibly intimate personal connection with creatures like us while he maintains his central presence back on paradise.
So it shows that deep link between spirit, mind, and the physical cosmic reality.
Exactly. Even at the very highest levels of deity, it's not like spirituality means escaping the physical entirely. Physicality seems integral to the whole cosmic setup described here, right to the top.
That really shifts my perspective. So different levels aren't separate dimensions floating off somewhere. They're different kinds of existence, physical and non-physical, all integrated.
Okay.
And this whole understanding of reality actualized through the triodities, the spirit, mind, cosmic thing, this ties directly into how the experiential deities evolve, right?
Precisely. The triodities, by setting up and maintaining this framework of actual reality, are fundamentally involved in the actualization, the becoming, of deities like the Supreme Being, the Ultimate, and the Absolute. Because these deities aren't static, they grow, they achieve fuller expression through all the experiences happening in the cosmos.
Let's focus on the Supreme Being for a second. The sources say the Supreme is currently in paradise, but not fully realized yet, not in full fruition. How does that work?
That's a major teaching, yeah. The Supreme is on a journey from potentiality towards full actuality. All the evolutionary experience from the 7 superuniverses, the growth, the choices, the achievements of countless creatures like us, all that experience gets channeled through these huge cosmic agencies, like the 7th Master Spirit,
Okay.
and it all contributes to the progressive actualization of the Supreme Being, making the Supreme more real, more complete.
So our journey is everyone's journey in some way feeds into the Supreme becoming more actual.
That's a teaching, yes. And there's a huge milestone anticipated. When all 7 superuniverses finally reach that settled state of light and life, this advanced condition of cosmic stability and spiritual maturity.
Right.
At that point, God the Supreme will attain full fruition, become the fully actualized deity of experience for all these vast creations.
And the triodities are essential to this because they provide the very foundation for all that experience to happen in the first place.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Because all 3 components of actualized reality, spirit, mind, and cosmic, are integral to the experience of every single evolving being. And those experiences are the very stuff that the Supreme is actualized from. So the triodities are fundamentally involved in making those cosmic experiences possible and defining their nature.
It's almost like the triodities set the stage, provide the actors, us, experiential beings, and define the fundamental rules of the play, spirit, mind, cosmic, and the whole grand performance results in the Supreme's full emergence.
That's a really good analogy, actually.
Mhm.
And the sources add another layer. For us, for time-space creatures, this evolving supreme being acts as a revelation of the unity of the I am, the original, ultimate first source and center.
So, as the Supreme becomes more real, it helps us understand the ultimate God.
In a way, yes. The eventual full fruition of the Supreme represents a huge step in revealing God the I Am to the universes. It symbolizes that ultimate unity between the infinite God and all finite creation.
That's just a breathtaking scale of connection, from the basic structure of reality in the Triadities all the way up to deity evolution and God's revelation.
It really does tie everything together in a pretty magnificent sweep.
Now, I remember the source material also briefly touched on a couple of related, maybe heavier topics. They weren't the main focus on Triadities, but part of the broader discussion.
Yes, that's right. There was a brief mention that complex moral issues like suicide and mental illness came up in that wider source discussion. Specifically, it noted that judging these kinds of situations is reserved for really high-level divine beings, like the Ancients of Days.
Kind of emphasizing the seriousness and complexity.
Exactly. Highlighting the sanctity of life choices within this whole cosmic picture, and stressing that the final understanding and adjudication of such difficult matters belongs to divine wisdom at the highest levels.
Right. So acknowledging those serious life issues exist within this framework, but they weren't the core point about the Triadities themselves.
Precisely. The Triadities are more about the metaphysical structure, the how of reality setup.
Okay, so let's try and summarize this deep dive then. We learned Triadities are different from Triunities. Key difference being the Father's personal absence in the revealed ones, and the members can function individually too.
Right. And we explored the triodity of actuality, what is made up of the sun, spirit, paradise, cosmic, and the actor, mind. That covers all actualized reality.
Then we looked at the triadity of potentiality, the what could be composed of the three latent absolutes.
And crucially, how these two are totally intertwined. Actuality emerging dynamically from potentiality. That's the engine of cosmic evolution, keeping things from being static.
And this whole structure provides the framework for all existence. It clarifies that different levels or dimensions are just varying states within one huge integrated system, which kind of challenges ideas about separate multiverses.
And maybe the biggest surprise, the teaching that all beings, from us up to the deities, live on physical spheres, even paradise, highlighting that deep interplay of spirit, mind, and cosmic matter everywhere.
Right. And finally, we tied the triodities to the evolution of the experiential deities, especially the Supreme Being, whose actualization depends on all this integrated cosmic experience that the triodities make possible.
It's a lot to take in, but it builds this incredibly detailed, interconnected view of the cosmos.
It really does. So here's a thought to leave you with. If actual reality emerges dynamically from potentiality out there in the cosmos, how might that big principle relate to the small scale of your own life? You know, what potentials are sitting inside you waiting to become actual? And how does the interplay of your own spirit, mind, and physical life maybe play into that personal unfolding?
That's a powerful parallel to think about, definitely.
Our exploration isn't over, though. The next deep dive will continue looking at these divine associations, turning to the Trinity of Trinities. That promises to expand our understanding even further into the structure of divinity and how it all relates to universal reality.
Looking forward to continuing that journey with you all.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Keep seeking,